Hello.
Hello, Sylvia.
Hello, Anthony, and hello, everybody. We're here together. Anthony has some questions for the group of 100. Is there any theme today, Anthony?
Uh, Religion. Oh, yeah.
Ooh, this will be a hot topic, will it not?
Could be.
Yes,
Could be, especially
yes,
considering the time period.
exactly.
Mm.
Okay, good. So let's just bring them in and let's
Mhm.
just get started. Very good. Hello. Greetings, dear souls. We are coming today to introduce ourselves. We have introduced ourselves already to Sylvia and Anthony. We are the group of not 100 but 1,000.
Ooh.
We are a group that operates galactically beyond your galaxy. We are made up of the guardian teams of each galaxy. And so, therefore, of course, we are working on a much wider span than the more localized group of 100. So, today we just wish to introduce ourselves, but perhaps, Anthony, if you have some questions, we may be able to answer these, or else we will get our dear 100 to step in. Thank you.
Fantastic. Wow. Um, and I feel honored and blessed that you've come through. Um, in last week's session, in the Q&A session, we explored the fundamental aspects of life, as in who am I, why am I here, where am I going, and how to get there. And for all the people that are new to the channel, I would encourage the viewers to check out last week's Q&A for the response of that. So in this week, I'd like to follow up on this, as most people in the world have gone to a religious institution to get the answers. The search for meaning in one's life. Uh, every culture has some kind of religion, and all faiths answer the question, what is the meaning of life? This is the main reason that people are drawn to religion. The answers, although different from religion to religion, give people's lives purpose. The different religions have their own views on the meaning of life. Hinduism gain release from the cycle of rebirth and merge with the eternal divine, thus escaping an inhospitable world. Buddhism gain enlightenment and, in a way, free yourself from the suffering that comes from illusions and attachments to life. Judaism, do God's commandments. Christianity, try to love the way Jesus loved. Islam, submit oneself to the will of Allah. Taoism, achieve inner harmony. This has been a long-winded preamble to the question. This is the question. What is the meaning of human life from your spiritual perspective?
Yes, well, we feel we did answer this, as you said, in the previous questions last week. But yes, this is an interesting slant you are bringing today, Anthony.
Hmm.
We must just comment those examples that you just gave for each religion.
Hmm.
Were they not beautiful and filled with light? If,
Hmm.
if only religion indeed could be that. But of course, we understand in the history of man it has not been that. And we really seek to answer the very first statement that you made, which is people have chosen to get the answer to these ultimate questions through religion.
Hmm.
At this point, we would, unfortunately, and we are aware that this will cause distress to many, We would like to posit the possibility, and this is chicken and egg and chicken, which came first, which is really, did man seek within religion, or was religion provided and delivered to man as,
Yeah.
this is where you will get your answers, all come here, please?
Yeah.
Because really, if you think back to sort of so-called, what is called these days, pagan practices, where people got answers from the trees and connected to the land, and all the indigenous cultures still in touch, as many are still holding the wisdoms of centuries in their wisdom keepers. These cultures still understand what it is to live in harmony with the earth, with Mother Earth. And all wisdom and all knowing comes from this place. It is, we would suggest, what we will simply call the controllers, who, as we know, even in the time of Christ, as an example, created, as it were, the Council of Nicaea to create this so-called Christianity, which, of course, separated the individual soul from their personal connection to source and God energy. It said instead there must be a priest, there must be rules, there must be a liturgy and dogma, there must be money that you pay the church, and if you do not obey the rules, you will be called a sinner, and then you will have that weight to carry on your being, on your back for the lifetime. So we would suggest that perhaps the innocent, pure aspect, which you are indeed naming, Anthony, in the question, the aspect of the human being which knows and feels deeply its connection to the great beyond, whatever name they call it, the divine, God, source, energy. Humans, when unencumbered, feel this. This is part of our divine patterning. But because initially the constructs in each culture were put in place, they weren't the true souls. The Christ, of course, is a real divine enlightened soul, as is the Buddha, as are the teachers of these religions. They were mighty beings of soul. But then it is the man-made constructs around the teachings that have created what we would currently call religion. And this is why it is destined in the upcoming weeks and months, and that there will be indeed a shattering of many of these constructs as the population are guided to the truths in a way that have been really running the show, shall we say, in religious terms. We can carry on. Is there anything you would like?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I was going to put a little light-hearted bit of humour in there and say it's the number 42.
The number 42? What is that?
Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the ultimate question to life, the universe and everything. The number 42. Sorry. Continuing on from the religious theme, do all paths lead to the same truth? The idea that different religions are like distinct paths leading to the same mountain summit is a popular, though not universally accepted metaphor. It suggests that while religions may have unique rituals, beliefs, and practices, they ultimately share a common goal or truth, much like different paths reaching the same peak. Now, what's interesting, religious philosophers like Gandhi, belief in one's God is the cornerstone of all religion. Dalai Lama, the essential message of all religions is very much the same.
Mhm.
Religious author Huston Smith. It is possible to climb life's mountain from any side, but when the top is reached, the trails converge. But what I find is this is an interesting quote. Um, this is a seductive sentiment in a world in which religious violence can seem as present and potent as God, but it is a dangerous, disrespectful, and untrue. The world's religious rivals do converge when it comes to ethics. No religion tells you it's okay to have sex with your mother or to murder your brother, but they diverge sharply on doctrine, ritual, mythology, experience, and law. Such differences may only matter to mystics or philosophers of religion, but they matter to ordinary religious folk. I'd be fascinating in your response to this question.
Yes, just be careful to break the questions down a little bit for us, Anthony.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, but we have got the thrust of this one. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Um, well, we have the extremes, do we not? We have the extremes which we would very much agree with, that at the central point, those who are able, through purity of faith or perseverance or the deepening beyond the words and the practice into their still silent heart, even though they started with the outer construct of any particular religion, but they ended up with a private practice within that religion. At this point, yes, all souls meet. This is where the Christians and the Muslims, etc., meet in love and friendship. This understanding that there is only one force of light, one force of truth. The extreme which we are suggesting is man-made, the constructs around religion, are very clearly what creates religious wars, does it not?
Yes.
Because if you have clothed yourself, as it were, in the rules and beliefs of a particular religion and are a sort of do it to the letter person, and there inevitably comes a certain righteousness, does it not? And then that righteousness, which of course is celebrated in the more avid followers, it is as if, yes, you are very spiritually mighty if you are full of fervor. But let us face it, that fervor can itself be manipulated into, I must go and kill my enemies. The dark forces, once the true history of planet Earth is known, it will become very evident that religion has been a very strong tool used by the dark ones to pit people against each other throughout time, since the time of the Templars and the Cathars. These religious groups that were wiped out, the pure seeking religious groups, many were destroyed and wiped out because they were of pure mind and heart. And there were always reasons to take out these religious groups who were holding to the purity of celebrating and living by the essence of the, as it were, word of God, not the rules and prescribed practices. I mean, religion has often, when used by these dark forces, become a thing of ownership. And it is very sad indeed, when this fervor, this love of God turns into, and it's very understandable, love of my religion. So, for example, for a Catholic person, love of the practices of Catholicism, belief in the practices of Catholicism. We would ask again, when that person, we would say, at the core of it, at the core of your practice and going to church and doing the ritual, etc., do you come out feeling connected with source energy inside you? Or do you come out feeling you have done your duty and served the community which is associated with this church? They are two very different things. All through all Western society, and probably in the East as well, this idea of I belong, I go to church, I belong to the church community. This means I am an upright citizen. This means I have a structure, I have a community, I have people that I know through the church. These are all, there is a lot of validity in this, and many dear friendships and relationships and much good work in the community has been forged from these bonds. But we are also saying there can be danger in these bonds if they are unthinkingly entered into. And the truth of it is that the religious structures currently on planet Earth are portals to great darknesses in places which is not known as yet in the current community. And these darknesses have been secreted from humanity. One thing that we thought to mention, Anthony, when you were going through the lists of religions, we find it very interesting that the religion Satanism is not referred to in your list.
Yeah.
And we are very interested, because this is the history of planet Earth, that there has been much breeding of mistrust of God and Godhead and religion. In recent history, many people are leaving religion either because they wish to follow their unique path to the Godhead, which we would call the spiritual community, but some are just leaving it into secularism. And of course, at this point, the devil has found its hold amongst, for example, the contemporary music industry and the movie industry and the aspects of social media, where the devil, Satanism, and all the red glory is clearly celebrated in front of the population of the planet, with nobody realizing that this is an actual religion for many on this planet. This is a religion which is practiced by thousands and millions of people planetary-wide, but it does not have any press, because it has been moving in the secret realms of the planet. And its dark practices, which are indeed extremely dark, the taking of life, the sacrificial taking of life, the abuse of children. This is a great darkness on this planet, and it has not been found the light of the press, as it were. And so until all religions are understood to exist on this planet, then really nothing becomes fully clear, does it?
No, that's a good point.
So, but to return to your point about at the core of all of the positive religions, there is the simplicity of what can be called a personal faith, a personal understanding of how prayer moves in the body, how meditation moves in the body, the deep urge to seek a personal connection with God, whatever name you give it, source energy, the field, however you view this. There is an acknowledgement that we live within a divine set of frequencies, a frequency of wholeness, which which surrounds life on this planet and which is waiting, really vibrating in the sort of causal realms, the etheric realms, these higher realms. Once you lift your brainwave frequency to these places of communion with spirit and through a desire for service and communion and community and unity, that you will find this strand of truth and wholeness which can move like the divine golden essence that it is through the hearts of your fellow man. And the fact that this is possible without the frameworks of religion is something which is becoming clearer through what you would call your New Age movement or alternative spiritual movements, but also within the religions which hold to the practice of their pure essence.
Very good. I found 9 interesting religious quotes. Please, can you comment on any one or all as appropriate?
Perhaps just give them to us one at a time, and we
will.
Yes.
All religions, arts, and sciences are branches of the same tree. Albert Einstein.
Absolutely. This is the divine essence, the divine frequency. And art, the practice of art, the pure channeling that happens within great artists and those seeking to become great artists, indeed is as strong as any religious fervor, because it seeks essence. It seeks the essence that sits within the soul of each individual. Yes, we would agree on this marvelous comment.
The essence of all religions is one. Only the approaches are different. Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes. This again, as we know, he was a man who committed to the doing, did he not? He was a man of he preached to do, to walk, to eat, to not eat. These were activities. You know, he spun the cloth, worked at the loom. He said, this is my practice. So he is saying, once you reach this act of not conceptualizing your faith, but living it, this is where the religions join.
Okay.
Not to feel love, to be love. Not to send nice adages of comfort, to your community, but to show up for the volunteer work, for helping the neighbour. These are the ultimate acts of the divine in action, are they not?
Yeah. Okay, another one. I have no religion, and at times I wish all religions at the bottom of the sea. He is a weak ruler who needs religion to uphold his government. It is as if he would catch his people in a trap. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk.
Yes.
Sorry about the pronunciation.
Very wise soul indeed, Mr. Mustafa. Yes. Mustafa, yes. Yes. What this speaks, you can apply this comment and look through your history books, and this would be indeed an interesting study for some soul to do this and to see how often government and religion have been entwined.
And they put religions against each other to control the people.
Exactly.
Especially in India, as an example.
Yes. So this is where if we are going to distrust religion, or to, as we say, look for the pure strand that connects to you within your religion, we must also distrust the governments, must we not? Because if these have just been, or if they have just been diminished to organizing bodies, yes, that interact and both have great power in the world, then anything of this nature must be questioned. Because it can contain within it power over the man, power over humanity, power over the population, where it says, no, we are offering you the power of a solid state and the power of a solid church. But looking with very clear eyes at these two things, you would say, yes, but am I empowered within this? Especially when they work together to sometimes control me. Am I feeling empowered? Probably not, if you look at these periods in history.
Yes, very much so. All religions must be tolerated, for every man must get to heaven in his own way. Epictetus?
It is true that many souls now connected to a direct strand to their God spark, as at work, have journeyed through religions. And it is, you could say, part of the soul choice of ones currently incarnated on earth, and of course many generations beyond, that many have entered the halls of any particular religion and then bounced against it and felt not fully served and have left it and have gone on to a further definition of spirit and the life of godliness in their own terms and their own words through religion. So yes, you could argue they have served a purpose for many who have had the eyes to go into the structures and then to find that indeed they feel contained and held and perhaps not fully alive within these constraints. And if they are people of strong instinct who feel this does not feel right, it feels like I should be feeling full of life and full of hope and full of trust and full of faith when I'm in connection with my God. And this is not making me feel this. So then they bounce out, or and so in this sense it is true that everybody's path can go through this. We must mention that this one in her own lineage has many rungs of not only Christian teachers and preachers in her lineage, but also in her past lives, as with many of those working in the spiritual community. There is, we would have to say, a raft of the lives as the monks and the nuns and the mother superiors and the beings who have had whole lives serving, as it were, the church. In her case, many of these have been ones in which she was asked to do very dark things in the name of the church, such as during the time of the Inquisition. So one must always be aware that the residue of church imprint comes again down through the ancestors, down through the family line, and also down through the soul line, through past lives. So even, for example, if you were an atheist, somebody who chose to not subscribe to anything in this life, that does not necessarily mean that there still is not imprints from other lives. For example, this one in her earlier life very much had the thought form that life was to be a battle and that one had to win out with the spiritual forces. And so it was always going to be a fight and, to stay on the good path. This, of course, is one of the key indoctrinations of the Christian church. And on the spiritual dimensions, this is simply not a truth. There is no battle. There is no force which says I must, do good, do good, do good, do good. I must be that person who is always seen to be doing good out there in the world. We must qualify this with a word that we will call, let us call it, doing the inner work, which indeed can feel like a battle, but the place it comes from within the being is very different. The battle comes from an indoctrinated idea that you will never get ahead and you must be in service and you must be fighting and ready to lose at any point for your entire life. Does that make sense? Would you? Yes.
Wow.
Whereas this idea, there is work to be done on the spiritual path. One does not reach spiritual alignment without doing the work. But this is from a place of choice. This is actually from a place of surrender, that I understand the higher frequencies I'm seeking in my life, but I cannot just keep banging my head over there and do my do-gooding tasks with no consciousness. I must enter consciousness, which then says, I have difficulty around that person. I have difficulty around that area. Oh, my heart is blocked. What can I do to unblock my heart? Oh, I have great rage, and that has never been allowed to be expressed, and it seems to be creating illness in my body. These are the layers of consciousness which true self-examination offers. And you can see by the subjects we've just offered, they do not appear to be religious topics.
Yes.
But they are indeed topics of spirit. And they are indeed containing within them the ultimate freedom of the soul. But in a way, the laws of the church have often said, you must not, it is selfish to feel a lot about yourself. It is selfish to be concerned about how you are feeling. You must be busy doing good. You haven't got time to stop and feel. You haven't got time to stop and ask these questions. So in this subtle way, this example we are giving is how religion, for the good that it does contain, often in its essence, has been twisted to, in fact, imprison the daily functions of man, as opposed to say, just stand, feel what is flowing, what is not flowing. What is flowing is of God. What is stuck and frozen is not. Please pay attention to that.
Very good. Okay. Religion is the organization of spirituality into something that became the handmaiden of conquerors. Nearly all religions were brought to people and imposed on people by conquerors and used as the framework to control their minds. John Henrik Clark.
Yes, again, from another culture, similar thought to Mustafa. Yes, and we feel that these words and these wonderful comments that you have found and researched, Anthony, these are, you can feel, can you not, in the words, the distillation of thought of these men. For you to find these comments wherever you found them online, they have entered the mainstream, yes?
Yes, correct.
And these are men who have clearly, studied and researched and distilled their sort of understanding and their sense of knowing to come to make such a strong statement. There would be many who would just say, oh, that man is a dissident. He is a stirrer. He is, he is not following that which is good in society, yes. But these are men of science, of thought, of philosophy, of faith, who have examined history and who have come to conclusions. And as we have already said, we feel that if every man was to do the same level of research, it would be inevitable that these are the conclusions that will be
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
That religion has gone hand in hand and often has been imposed. But the sad thing about this is that, for example, the person whose family is Muslim or Buddhist or Catholic or Protestant um, grows up into this environment. It
Mm.
is normal for them.
Yeah.
It is made normal. The family line has always been this religion. The family line is this. And so the baby growing up in this environment, it is truly in the category of normal, is it
Mm.
not? Because it
You're,
is the culture of the
yep.
family. It has
Yep.
become embedded in the culture of the family.
Yeah.
And it is, and as we have said, it is only the seeking soul that goes, hang on, I'm something separate from that.
Mm.
And to continue with that is something I can choose or not
Mm.
as I move forward into my adulthood.
Mm.
And of course, as these more dangerous aspects that the soul talks of here have been exposed more and more in recent history, this is why more and more souls are feeling that they will not follow that path of religion.
Mm.
The
Mm.
problem is that there isn't a full understanding of what is to replace that
Yes.
as yet.
And it's like a power vacuum that can occur. And also you're a product of your environment until you get to a certain age where you can actually usually break free from that, or when you go through adolescence, or maybe sometimes a bit further down the track, that you can actually really seriously think for yourself.
And you would agree, I'm sure, that this one has noticed it within the New Zealand culture that, and I'm sure it probably is a Western thing, that when the faith is lost in the church and the rebellion is made, perhaps against the family, in the more Western material cultures anyway, this secularism that we are talking about that often involves drinking.
Mm.
If you look at what the culture is propagating as fun, as the most valuable ways you should spend your time
Mm.
with friends, it is no longer sitting in groups of meditation or prayer or building houses together, for example, as with the Amish community. It is let's go drinking.
Mm.
And this is one reason why the young ones are so lost at this time, because the drinking culture has, in a way, replaced their God. And
Mm.
they are also living in, of course, the most chaotic history that this planet has known. And anything can become a religion, can it not?
Mm. Yeah.
Having to party every week
Mm.
becomes a religion. A way we use the term lightly in this sense, but
Yes. Yes.
yes, you understand what we are saying. Yes. So, um,
Mm.
and of course, this is, of course, all intended to be that people lose their connection with the core. And of
Mm.
course, there are other things that have happened in recent history on the planet that have also, unfortunately, been forced on the population, and that has also created a level of disconnection from core due
Mm.
to certain chemicals being put into the body. So this has been we each person will have to decide this for themselves, and we can only advocate, as we say, listening and looking with new eyes, because we would love humanity to understand that they are one in spirit.
Mm.
That indeed unity consciousness says we are one. If we are all sparks of the Godhead, then when we are together, we are the Godhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are the mighty force of creation that is all any person and any movement on this planet needs.
Mhm.
And we are feeling that this is in the future of the planet now, that there will be a time that comes where great unity will be forged on this planet. And people in this moment will really learn and feel within their beings that, we get it. It is a real structural, physical thing that we are one. And we
Mhm.
sit together and we support each other and we pray together and we open and call on the divine together. And there does not need to be any intermediate or any intermediary in the way here.
Mhm. Mm. And I'm pretty sure you've answered this question previously, actually. The sovereignty of scriptures of all religions must come to an end if we want to have a united, integrated modern India. And that's Anne Bedkund. Kund?
Well, it is true, these sacred scriptures, uh, many of them are real, many of
Mm.
them are from spiritual teachers from the past. It has been said that apparently they have discovered in the bowels of a timely subject, the Vatican,
Mhm. Yes.
that there is some number 56 or 256, we do not know the number, other versions of the Bible.
Yeah.
And that Bible, which has been presented at the core of modern society, is only a fragment of the
Mm.
wisdom that was truly written by the teachers of that time.
Mm.
And so, for example, there are books written by women, and the books all about the power of the feminine have
Mm.
been left out. And the feminine within the current Bible is often turned
Yeah.
into a slave.
Yeah.
And that is how the nuclear family was, of course, created. The idea that the woman would be at home and be disempowered in this realm and become a tool and a slave for the patriarchy, which, of course, is now, with the divine feminine flooding onto the planet in all of the glory. This is now being reversed on all levels of energetics on this planet at this time.
Mm. This is a little bit more uplifting. All religions try to benefit people with the same basic message of the need for love and compassion, for justice and honesty, honesty for commitment. The Dalai Lama.
Yes, there are some who lose their faith, but they hold, for example, to the Christian principles.
Mhm.
This one has known people like this. And so they say, yes, I do not follow what the church says as such, but I live by the principles. And we feel this is what you are talking about here, which
Mhm.
is, as we have said, how does faith, and you can say that it is religion showing up in people's lives, but we would say it is actually the aspect of religion which talks about action and doing love and being love and embodying higher virtues, and that all religion, the best of religion, does talk about the higher virtues, the higher moral truths, that it is in man's nature to strive to live by these. And indeed, it is true that when man does align with the principles, for example, of the structure of the Ten Commandments or whatever, that yes, it does create a more harmonious, it can create a more harmonious society, but also it creates a more harmonious being in the
Mhm.
individual.
Yeah.
When it does not wake up every day thinking, oh, I really have to have what my neighbors have, and I'm not going to be happy till I do. Obviously, the principle of covetousness is not one that breeds happiness. So, these laws, which certainly are within the religious texts, also have a very functional application. And at this core, this is where the power of religion has offered a very functional, beneficial aspect to
Mm-hmm.
the harmony of society. But we would ask all those, even those involved with it on these levels, always the question has to be asked, yes, but from that, are you getting a touch of righteousness or a touch of, oh, I'm being good, or oh, I am less a sinner, or I am more of this or less of that? This layer of judgment that is attached is the layer which is very subtly keeping people entrained
Mm-hmm.
to the overall principle, whereas really we are looking for a point at unity where the heart speaks and action comes from that. And the love of the fellow being is why you do what you do. It is simpler. Does this make
Mm-hmm.
sense? Yeah.
Yes, yes, very much so. Mm. Um, we should respect all religions and just believe in peace, kindness, and harmony. Anaya Pandai. Mm.
So we will answer this in the context of a historical paradigm, which is, yes, 30, 40, 50 years ago, this comment is a very powerful offering.
Mm.
This comment, when offered in the face of religious wars, the Middle
Yeah,
East, you know,
yeah, no.
it's a powerful comment. Do
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Mm.
So historically, yes, if we're talking about this as opposed to people of different religions killing each other,
Mm.
yes,
Mm.
please choose this one.
Mm.
uh, so, so of course, this is a very beautiful, pure comment that stems from that. Yes.
Mm.
And then everything else that we have talked about today,
Yeah.
which is talking about the actual structure that the control structures within religion,
Mm.
which ultimately have not necessarily been working for the benefit of mankind. That is another level,
Mm.
yes. But the intention in which this comment was made,
Mm.
like, yes, please let everybody have what is theirs. Let
Mm.
everybody have what is in their hearts and their beings, and do not seek to impose
Yeah.
any unity. Do not seek to deny difference in humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Allow difference. Allow all the different flavors of humanity to coexist,
Yeah.
and understand that at the core they are one.
Yeah.
And this of course, is a universal truth which does has a lot of functional use on the planet.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm. And the final one is, as we sort of followed on from all the rest, it's quite interesting. All religions have been made by men. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Well, yes, as we have said, the religious
That's right.
structure is
Correct. Religious
usually a
structure.
group which is gathered together
Yeah.
by beings of power who, in our current patriarchal model, happen to be men. And even though I'm sure in this comment it doesn't mean men, it includes women. But yes, these powers that be have said, this here is a soul of light. We will create a structure around them which celebrates the light they hold, but then also says, so if you want to hold this light, you don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is never just, here is a light for you to be inspired by and to hold in your heart. Rules have been created by men, and that is what this person is referring to when they say
Yes.
that religions have
Yes.
been created by men. Yes.
Correct. No, and I think I have other questions, but I think that's pretty much covers it all off, and you've been covering this topic exceptionally well. So is there anything else you would like to share in relation to this topic that you've been talking so far?
This one is feeling some emotion coming through as we bring up our final offering.
Hmm.
This is on the subject of human feeling,
Mhm.
human emotion. Emotion was given to humanity as a direct pathway to spirit. Most systems which are respected on the planet, such as academia, science, the constructs of religion, either do not refer to emotion at all
Mm.
or diminish it to something that women do or that is weak, the sign of weakness. Stoicism is much held up within certain religions. It is one of the strands that religion has supported. We hope that indeed there are religions which do allow for example, grieving. As we say this, we are aware that perhaps certainly within the Indian culture that there are structures and where, these acts which, such as grief for a past one, which can be very organic, are often turned into large ritual acts held within a church structure. And that would appear to make it more holy. But the question would still remain, is the individual getting the completion that they seek through their tears, through their honouring, you see. So ultimately, the pathway to opening spirit for the current human is to open the heart, is to open the heart and let the heart feel, to let the heart know that it is the mightiest organ of light in the human body, and that any teaching which has said, whether it be parent or church, go to your room if you're angry, or you need to weep, or you need to express yourself with your sovereign voice. Take that unpleasant sound away and silence it. Through these sounds, through the power of healing sound, through the voice, through these frequencies, this is how the individual can find their inner light. As long as any voice is suppressed anywhere on the planet, the true sovereign soul of the individual is also repressed. This is the potency behind a simple act, as Twitter being turned to X by Mr. Musk, saying every human should be allowed freedom of speech. The spiritual layer of this is every human being should fight for their right to feel. Not have an opinion, not spout on somebody else's beliefs, to feel in their own being, in their own heart. This is where all religions meet in the pure essence of self. This is where the faith and the trust of the awakened individual can meet another being from anywhere on the planet and feel like a sister or brother, because the heart is open, and through the heart that connection happens. So that is our final offering on this subject. We hope what we have brought through today is useful. How do you feel, Anthony?
Yes, fabulous. Great response. And very pleased, and I'd like to encourage everybody who finds this to be entertaining and interesting and uplifting, very important, to please subscribe and like and support Sylvia's channel.
Thank you. So, dear souls, we just say in passing, we thank you very much, Anthony, for this deeply researched and intelligent level of questioning. We really appreciate that you have covered this very broadly in your questions, and we have been honored to be here today with you. And all of the beloveds watching, we send you infinite light and love from the eternal realms, and we will see you again shortly. Beloved, beloved, beloved. Yeah, great, Anthony. Beautiful. Lovely.
Very good.
Yeah, good. So, everybody, lots of love. We'll see you again next time. Lots of love.
Bye.